Hello, welcome to my channel. I am Chelsea and this is Cozy with Chelsea. And today I want to talk about Sober October. This is your guide to 31 days alcohol free. I'm going to go through the benefits of a Sober October and how to prepare and set yourself up for success. Today's video, it's not sponsored by Aplos, but I do love Aplos, and that is going to be my mocktail for this video. And I'm going to pour it in this beautiful ghost mug that I got from Anthropology for my birthday. Hopefully that candle isn't a fire hazard being next to that pumpkin. We'll find out. So I love this month because it is October. It's Sober October. It's one of those months like Dry January where people give sobriety a shot and maybe it lasts even longer. But if it doesn't, it's still a month where you allow your body to fully reset and remove the alcohol, which is a toxin in your body, and hopefully get some health benefits from that. I personally am sober and I'm very passionate about sobriety. I am a little bit over 2 years. Well, I hit 2 years in July and now we're coming on October. So whatever the math is there, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know all the days and all of that, but it's been a lot of days now at this point, and my life is only better. I've experienced so many benefits personally from sobriety. I'm healthier, I'm happier, I'm more confident, I have more self-love, I have more self-respect. The list kind of goes on and on. And I'm passionate about Sober October because it means that a bunch of new people get to try sobriety, or maybe they've had stints of sobriety and want to do it again because they like how they feel when they go a month without alcohol. So if you are looking for a month with increased health, confidence, and self-love, then perhaps Sober October is for you. I wanted to start by talking about some of the benefits that you might experience during your possibly first Sober October. So I'm going to kind of go through the list here. The first one I have is improved physical health. Now, this is an overall benefit of sobriety. What a month without alcohol allows your body to do is totally reset and repair itself because alcohol is doing damage to your body. It's just a fact. So giving yourself a month to recover from that is a wonderful way to improve your physical health. And the body can really do a lot, even in just a few weeks, much less a month. Some benefits that you could have look like better skin, reduced bloating, improved digestion, lower blood pressure, and also an enhanced immune function. That is a huge one. When I was drinking, I would get sick all of the time. Knock on wood. But my health has improved overall. I mean, personally, I no longer have high cholesterol. I was having recurring minor health conditions, but still all of those have gone away since I've got sober. And my skin is better, my body feels better, it feels stronger, all of those things. So you can definitely have improved physical benefits. But in addition to the physical, the second one here is mental function. So a lot of people that drink regularly, whatever that word means, that could be daily, that could be weekly, but yeah, many people who drink experience brain fog. I know I did. And you might actually experience that when getting sober too, just because your body's kind of readjusting, but that goes away. So overall, when removing alcohol, typically people will have better focus, better clarity. Some even say they have improved memory. I'm not sure about that one personally, but many people say they do have improved memory when they remove alcohol. The mental clarity is a common side effect of going sober, and obviously that can impact your life in many beneficial ways. It could make you more productive at work. It could just make it easier to get through your day. It's all lovely. The third one I have is emotional well-being. So this one is interesting. I think a lot of people don't really know this, but with alcohol, it makes you feel good initially, right? I mean, that's why we all do it. But when you're consuming it over a period of time, it actually has a negative impact on your emotional well-being. That was another huge reason that I decided to get sober, was I was just tired of feeling tired. For one, I was tired of feeling sad. I was tired of feeling anxious, depressed, all of those things because alcohol is a depressant. So while you may initially feel a little bit better when you're drinking, the after effects, the hangover, but not just the hangover, really how you feel days and weeks and months, and at a certain point, always, right? When you're drinking a lot of alcohol, can make you more sad, can make you more anxious because it is a depressant. So initially it boosts your mood, but you have long-term negative effects from alcohol. So when you go a month alcohol-free, that allows your body to also reset and repair that area. Many people do experience enhanced emotional well-being. You might experience that you have more stable emotions. It also helps reduce mood swings, and it's a way to help yourself develop better coping mechanisms, because when you're used to using alcohol when you don't feel good to make you feel better initially, what removing alcohol does is allow you to learn how to do that without using the substance, and instead using other coping mechanisms. The fourth one I have is financial savings. So this is an added benefit of sobriety. This wasn't even something I really thought about in the beginning until I realized how much money I was saving by not drinking because alcohol is expensive. Even if you're buying it and drinking at home, it's still an added expense. If you're going out and drinking, it is very expensive. I go to dinners now and my bill is half of what it used to be. That wasn't my motivating factor for quitting drinking. However, it was an added benefit. And the fifth one that I have is just having a healthier relationship with alcohol. So even if you don't choose to be sober forever, it's still a way to kind of take a step back and examine your relationship with alcohol. You know, how often are you drinking? How does it make you feel? These are all things that you can think about once you remove it. And then how do you feel not drinking? You know, that's the real key here, is tapping into how do I feel when I remove this substance? Do I feel better? Are my emotions more stable? Am I more active? Do I have mental clarity? All of these are things that you might experience and might just give you a better idea of what your relationship with alcohol really looks and feels like, and what effects it's having on you, so that you can take that knowledge into the future. Even if you decide to drink, you can know, okay, I'm only going to drink so much this day, or I'm only going to drink for special events, or whatever that looks like. It's just a way to reflect and examine your relationship with alcohol and hopefully have a healthier relationship. So those are just my top 5 benefits for removing alcohol during Sober October. However, I'm sure there are many, many more, but I'm not going to bore you and go on and on about that. But those are the benefits. So let's talk about preparation. Because I think for anything in life, if you have a goal, sitting down, preparing, and having clear, actionable steps that can get you where you need to be is always a good idea. So I'm going to give you my top 3 preparation tips. And again, I'm sure there are more, but these are what I think are the most important steps to start preparing for Sober October, which is very soon. I'm recording this on September 23rd, but I'm not sure when I'll put it out, but it will be before October, so get ready. My first tip is social preparation and communication. This is a very important step to tell your friends that you are doing Sober October. Tell your friends, tell your family, so that they know and you're setting clear expectations with them. Because oftentimes it just takes one friend saying, oh, come on, just come have a martini with me on Friday. And you do. So get very clear about what you're doing. Communicate that to those around you so that they know and that they can support you. And tell them why you're doing it. You're doing a month of this to improve whatever that is for you. Your relationship with alcohol, you want to just feel better, whatever that is. I would also practice responses for when people ask why you're drinking, or they offer you a drink, or maybe they're even pressuring you to have a drink. This was something that I experienced. And sometimes people have good intentions, right? They just want someone to hang out with, or they're used to you drinking, or whatever that is. And I think having a response prepared is really good so that you're not caught off guard. Some examples are, oh, I'm not drinking this month for my health. That's a good one. People generally don't want to ask. I mean, it depends who you're talking to, but people don't want to always ask about health issues. And it's true. You are not drinking to improve your health. I know some people will say that they're on a medication just because, again, people are typically not going to pry, and they understand that. If you're on antibiotics or whatever it is, honestly, most medications you're not supposed to drink alcohol with for a reason. So you could say that, but maybe you don't want to tell someone that you're on medication, and that's fair. You could say that you're doing Sober October. There's a good response. People are generally aware of that and used to it. I think at this point, a lot of people are used to Sober Octobers and dry Januaries. And you can always go with the classic, oh no, I'm not drinking tonight, I have to drive. Whatever that response looks like, make sure you just have a few ready to go because it most likely will come up. It was absolutely something that came up for me. In the beginning, I often would say, oh, I'm just not drinking tonight, or I'm not drinking right now, or I'm just, I want to feel better, so I'm just not drinking for a little bit. And eventually I transitioned into, no, I don't drink, thank you. You get there, but if you're just trying, the month for October, just make sure you have a few responses ready to go. Number 2 is make sure you have a non-alcoholic arsenal ready. Make sure that you have non-alcoholic drinks on lockdown. This was so important for me. And this actually ties into the first tip I have, because if you have a drink in hand, even if it's a mocktail, people will just assume you're drinking. They don't know. They don't know what's in your cup. So if you're into non-alcoholic drinks, there's pretty much always a non-alcoholic beer. If you're actually out in a social setting, depending where you are, you can have a non-alcoholic beer, you could have a mocktail. Maybe you're lucky and they have an actual good non-alcoholic wine wherever you are. Those aren't as common. But a go-to that I would do if I went somewhere that didn't have an extensive mocktail menu is just get a soda water with lime. And people assume it's a drink because it kind of looks like one. So I find that if you just have a mocktail in hand, nobody even notices that you aren't drinking and nobody asks you anything. So that tip ties into number 1. But I think it's so great, especially if you're used to having a drink in your hand, to make sure that you have a mocktail of some sort ready to go so you can kind of, feel like you're having a drink, but you're not having a drink and you won't be hungover the next day. Okay, my third tip is have a craving emergency kit, meaning anytime you have a craving for alcohol, you have a list of things to do instead. This is where that coping mechanism comes into play, because if you have a hard day at work and you're used to having a drink to take the edge off, or you're going to a social setting and you're used to using alcohol to get rid of social anxiety, or whatever that looks like, if you're just used to having a drink, then it's good to know what to do when you have those cravings. So some that work well for me are physical activity. So if that's possible, if you can just get outside, go for a walk, do a workout, that is a great way. I found in the beginning, I ran every day that I stopped drinking because I had to overcome the craving, and I also had to get that dopamine back. Alcohol will reduce your dopamine levels. It will make your body reliant on alcohol to get that dopamine. So you might find you'll start having some sugar cravings, or you're trying to get that dopamine elsewhere, and physical activity is a healthier way to get that done. Now, I'm also not against having a sweet treat when you're doing this. I personally did that, and it was helpful for me. Another one would be breathing techniques. Can you do box breathing to kind of get you through it? Journaling is really great if you want to write about it, talking to a friend, and also having a resource. So I used the Reframe app, but there are a lot of apps out there. There are books, there are plenty of things. So really just find what works for you and what's going to get you through that craving. The craving on average only lasts 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 20. So as long as you can get yourself through that time period, you should be able to not have alcohol. So those are my top 3 tips. I also want to talk about challenges, because I like to be realistic when we're going into something, and I want you to be aware of some challenges that you might face, but also the solution to those challenges. So I kind of touched on the first challenge that I have, which is feeling that pressure socially, and also FOMO, fear of missing out. Those are huge ones in the beginning. And it might happen, especially if you have social circles that drink. I even had family members who would say, oh, come on, just have one. And you know what? I've always said sobriety is a great lesson on how to set boundaries because it is something that you will have to learn how to do. So I think what you can do is just kind of reframe sobriety as a positive choice, especially when you're communicating with other people. If you feed into that FOMO, then that's how you're going to feel. You're going to feel like you're missing out on something. Instead, you can have JOMO, which is a phrase that I actually got from a podcast, Happiest Sober, plug. I love that podcast. And she always talks about JOMO, which is the joy of missing out. And this applies to sobriety because, yes, you are not drinking, and maybe other people are, but you will have the benefits of not drinking. You will wake up the next day without a hangover. You will feel good mentally, physically, emotionally. The next day you can go do a bunch of errands or go on a hike or do that hobby you've been thinking about for such a long time. So you can still go to events if that works for you. Some people say no events for October because they can't handle the pressure, and that's okay too. But if you can reframe it as a positive change you're making in your life. You know, alcohol is the one thing where people don't get it. They don't understand why you're removing alcohol. But if you told someone, oh yeah, I'm on my fitness journey and I'm working out every day, they would be all about it. But somehow not drinking alcohol, you don't get the same response all the time. So as long as you can reframe it in a positive way, that will help a lot with that challenge. For the second one, you might experience stress and emotional triggers. I already touched on this a little bit when I was talking about the benefits and tips on how to prepare. But this is a big one, so it's worth reiterating, which is if you have used alcohol as a means to cope with stress or any emotion, then it might be hard for you initially, might be a challenge to overcome. And really, the solution to this is just making sure you have those coping mechanisms on lockdown. It is worth saying again. Something you will learn when removing alcohol is that you now need a healthy coping mechanism for those emotions and that stress. And this will only benefit you in the long run. If you can find a healthy outlet for whatever emotion you're feeling, it will, one, make you feel better in the long run, right? You're not going to have a hangover because you used a substance to numb the emotion, which is what's really going on. You're instead actually processing and working through that emotion, and you come out stronger on the other side. That is why one of the biggest things sobriety gifted to me was confidence. Confidence in myself to be able to handle whatever life throws at me. I can do that now without alcohol. But my tip is just to make sure that you have the coping mechanisms on lockdown. And the third challenge is going to be social events, right? This is the number one reason people have trouble picking a date to get sober. And it applies to something like Sober October or Dry January because any month, right? Any month is going to have an event. Someone's going to have a birthday. There's going to be a work party. There is going to be a holiday, Halloween, for example, a wedding maybe, or maybe it's just the weekend, you know, whatever that social event is, that can be a challenge, especially if you are not used to not drinking at a social event. So my solution here is to really get in touch with how you feel about this, because if you feel like it's going to jeopardize your sober month, then maybe don't go to the event. I have some friends who got sober and they just hibernated for a while. I personally was able to go to events when I was first getting sober, but I will not say that it was without difficulty, especially again because all of my friends drink. So it just takes a little bit of willpower, but also preparation. If you can communicate to your friends that this is really important to you and ask for them to support you, that is huge, right? And it really depends how you communicate that to them. If you're telling them, well, I'm trying to not drink, but if you have hesitation, they will feel that and they won't think that it's serious to you. On the other hand, if you tell them, hey, this is really important to me and I want to do this 1 month without alcohol so that I can reset and feel better, and I really need you to be there for me, that is going to have a much different response than the first option. So have a buddy for support. Maybe you can even get a friend who also wants to do Sober October. That's the best. When I was getting sober, I had a friend who was sober, and she was able to be my accountability buddy during that process. Also, again, I will say, always have a non-alcoholic drink. If you're going to an event, be prepared. If you need to bring your own, do that. I did that to a wedding once. I brought my own non-alcoholic drinks to the wedding because I wasn't sure if they would have it or not. They ended up having some, which was great. But I was like, just in case, I got these cans in the back. So be prepared. And then ultimately, having an exit strategy is really important. Now, the good news is when you're not drinking, an exit is very easy to make because it depends when you leave, but honestly, after an hour, no one's really noticing anything. You could literally Irish goodbye any event and people will not notice for a while. Maybe not ever. So you can just leave. You can also, excuse yourself. You can say bye to people, but just know if you're saying bye to people towards the end of the night, that's when they're like, no, come on, just take a shot with me, that happens. So I'm a fan of an Irish goodbye, or you say goodbye to your, 2 important people at the event and you're out of there. Get out. So that's my proposed solution to that challenge. So to recap, you will have many benefits from sobriety: physical health, mental health, emotional well-being, financial savings. There will be plenty of benefits you will feel, and it will totally be worth it. You just have to prepare. That's all. Have a plan, know how to handle cravings, know how to handle emotional triggers, and also reframe this as a positive thing if it's not already. This is a healthy change you are making for yourself, and get ready to experience happiness, right? Ideally. And I just want you, another positive reframe is to not think about it as giving something up. Because yes, you are giving up alcohol, but you're also gaining so much more. The benefits of this highly, highly outweigh the missing out on alcohol. You're going to sleep better, you're going to feel better, you're going to look better, all of those things. So I would highly recommend. And since it's Sober October, and this is my Cozy with Chelsea channel, make it a cozy month. To me, sobriety is very cozy, and that's because it's a wholesome life. You're not drinking, you're not damaging yourself physically, mentally, all those things. And you're instead finding, okay, what activities do I actually enjoy without drinking? Maybe I don't like going to the bar as much as I do, or maybe you do, to each their own. But maybe this month I want to get out in nature a lot. Maybe this month I want to take up a new hobby. Maybe I want to try pottery or crocheting or candle making, or I don't know, whatever that is. It really is an opportunity to figure out what it is that you actually like to do when you're just being yourself. You could have some cozy rituals. Hot cocoa is a big one for me. That was something that I drank a lot of when getting sober, and I still do, don't get me wrong. What cozy rituals can you have for yourself? Can you have a cozy blanket, watching Twilight, drinking hot cocoa? Can you take a lot of baths this month? Can you get really into yoga or stretching or going for a lot of walks? There are so many things to do to fill your time with instead of drinking that will benefit you in so many ways. This is a cozy, sober pajama month. Cozy, sober, October. Cozy, pajama, sober, October. You get it. So I have condensed this all into a guide, a free guide. If you would like to download it, I'm going to link it in the description. And it's your cozy guide to Sober October. And I'm going to list out everything that I put in this video. And if that's helpful, you can just click that link and download it. And I would love for you to comment what your plans are for Sober October, how you'll make it a cozy one, and what you're going to do to prepare for this month to experience all of the benefits that 1 month of sobriety can give you. So tell me in the comments. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, all the things. I am always posting cozy content, and a lot of it is sobriety related if you're into that kind of thing. Thank you for watching, and I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that you're able to implement some of the tips and tricks that I've shared to give you your coziest sober October. All right. Bye, everyone. Stay cozy.